Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Mommin'. I'm Megan.
And I'm Jessica.
How are you guys doing? It's cold, January. I'm really feeling January this year.
Yeah, and you guys can't see Megan, but she is like bundled up and basically curled up in a ball with her Sherpa on. It's freezing out though.
That's just normal.
Yeah, I just took the dog for a walk and we're not used to the Minnesota winters. We're used to Maryland, DC winters. So we had to buy her a really nice plush jacket. And it is so cute. I just want to take her on walks all the time so she can wear it.
You should post a picture of it. I haven't seen it.
It's super cute, but
this is the most Minnesotan intro ever because we are talking about the weather.
Right. Well, on that note, we hope everyone else is doing well and staying warm through this winter. And
yes, and we're keeping our intro short this week because we had such a fun conversation. It was with two other podcast hosts. So as you can imagine, the conversation was a little bit longer because we had such a fun time chatting with each other.
Yes, we were lucky enough to chat with the two women who host the While They Nap podcast, Chen and Lei. They are two Canadian podcast hosts. They're working moms who also host the podcast. They both are parents of 2-year-old kiddos, and they just were really, really fun to talk to. You know, we rarely record early in the morning, but we had a 7:30 a.m. conversation with them, and it was such a fun way to start the day. They're so lovely and fun, and just a great conversation.
Yes, we had so much fun chatting with them, and I agree. I loved it almost felt like just hanging out early in the morning with my cup of coffee, chatting with three friends.
Yeah, it was so fun. And yeah, just love talking with them. They're lovely ladies. You should definitely give their podcast a listen because they are so much fun to listen to and hear from. And we hope you enjoy the conversation as much as we did.
Yes. So if you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would leave a rating and review and share it with a friend. Remember, you can find us at momandpodcast.com, at Mom and Podcast on Instagram, and our Mom and Podcast Facebook group. Happy listening. Hi, everyone. We are here with Chen and Lei from While They Nap podcast. We're so excited to have you guys today.
Hey. Hi, thank you for having us.
And I'm still saying your names right? I always get in my head about people's names.
You actually said it correctly.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. I love that you care. Names are so important.
They are really so care. Yeah. So we like to get started just by hearing a little bit about you both and your families and what you both do for work and all that fun stuff.
You want to go first?
Yeah, go for it, friend.
My name is Chen. I am married. I have one child, a daughter. Her name is Winter. She just turned 2 years old, so that's exciting. And I'm being quite sarcastic. But yeah, for work, this is complicated. I never know how to explain my job because it doesn't have a real title, but I work in the community. I work in a community program that assists people with disabilities and dual diagnosis, autism, and mental health issues. I do life skills program and job readiness skills workshops with them. And yeah, that's my job. I'm working right now during COVID. It's an interesting time. Difficult.
Right.
And is constantly changing. So that's quite stressful. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And I recently just moved much further away from my job. So I'm very much so stressed out with this transition because I also just returned from mat leave. So there's so much going on. Adjusting to a lot. So yeah, that's my life right now.
I didn't realize it timed with you returning for the.
Yeah.
So this is your first time working with a child. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
That's
during
a lot.
COVID. Yeah, that's too much.
Too much. I like the attitude.
It feels like a lot right now.
Yeah.
It does. It's an intense adjustment. I'm not gonna lie. I'm struggling with this transition.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if I returned back to my normal pace of work, I would have been okay. But I think I'm just adjusting to too many things, the distance, the new COVID protocols, just being anxious about COVID, period, adjusting to having a child and changing my entire schedule to work around her and balancing family life. So, yeah, I'm just hanging in there, drinking coffee by the pound.
And that also sounds like an emotionally taxing job.
It is.
Yeah,
Yes.
where you really are invested. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I don't have anything to say except for hang in there. I'm sorry. That's that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Lei, you said you were a teacher? Oh, go ahead.
I mean, I was going to say, I'm like, it's hard to follow that, but I am the segue queen, so.
I see it on the mug. I like it.
In light of having it in tune with things being a lot. No, I definitely am very empathetic with Chen because I have similar stresses, but like I think with a layer of convenience. So I'm a high school teacher. I've been teaching for like 8 years now, either 8 or 9 years. I think that's where I'm around where I'm at. But teaching has been, I feel like my view of teaching has changed completely. I feel like this year felt like my first year of teaching, if that makes any sense, just because I'm now teaching virtually, which I've never done before. I've done online, like international teaching, which I mean is very different than what's happening. Like I've done that before, but now I am like teaching high school students across the board that I work for, and it's just wow, it's a real learning curve. So I'm thankful for my family, my husband and my daughter, who's turning 2 in 4 days. Yeah, like they just kind of like they're a nice break. I sometimes still a source of stress and a layer of challenges associated with that as well. But I think that I feel like after a tough day of just trying to navigate like this new normal, they're a refreshing dose of normalcy. So yeah, definitely thankful for them. But yeah, it's 2020's been a year. 2020 has been a year.
It has been. And you all are in Canada. So I don't know how much different things are here versus there, but did you get any warning of like, okay, you're about to go virtual with your teaching, you need to come up with a plan, or was it overnight?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate where we were offered the choice to teach virtually. And it was something that I lamented over for a few days. I think my thing was like my dad, he was like a little bit unwell. So I thought about him and wanting to see him and like the risks associated with returning to work. I thought about the money that I could save, like not having to commute back and forth. And then they had made some changes to like our schedule at homeschool where I'd be at school for longer. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to be at school longer. So yeah, like the choice to teach virtually was very much my own choice. It wasn't anything that I was coerced into. Like I felt very confident I felt very confident with my choice. However, like everything that I feel like people do, whether it be marriage, home ownership, like parenting, it's that like, you say that you're ready for this and then you get into it and you're like, what the hell, what's going on here? This is a shit show. So, yeah, it was really, really, really challenging those first couple of weeks, just trying to like get schedules and understand students and get accustomed to kids not turning their cameras on and speaking to like emoticons and trying to still be engaging. And I think it was more challenging for me because of the kind of teacher that I am. Like I'm very personable and very like much like, oh, my kids are like, like my little friends. So of course, boundaries, but they are. So I really love building community in my class, and I found that so challenging. So I've worked around that, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job at still like establishing that, but it was just so difficult those first few weeks.
Yeah, because it's not like you're new to it only. The students are too, I'm sure. And are they fully virtual, all of your students then?
Yeah, so at the board that it's a hybrid model. So you can, or that's what we have. We have two versions. We have full virtual or hybrid. I teach full virtual. So like, yeah, and I don't have to force them to turn their cameras on. I can't force them to turn their cameras on. I cannot force them to turn their mics on. So like it's crazy grading papers for kids I've never heard. Like it's weird.
What?
Yeah, it's so
Wait.
weird. Yeah.
So some of them just never do?
No, some of them have never unmuted themselves and they've never turned their cameras on. So I have no idea what these kids look like.
Well, is there a reason, do you think?
Yeah, so we have like a chat function so they can communicate via the chat, and that's how I can that's how I can like take attendance or what have you. For the camera, it's safety. Like yeah, it's safety and I guess privacy in the essence that like, you know, some kid may turn their camera on and I realize that they're learning in their bathroom. And now I'm like, oh my God, is this a CAS thing? Like, why are they learning in their bathroom? Why? So it's like, you know, to reduce that because like parents are home. There are conditions that kids are working and learning in that I may not find, what's the word I'm looking for? Appropriate, but they're doing what they have to do. Right. So, so there's that piece. And then the if you can believe it, the muting piece is mental health and anxiety. And like, there's just so many kids that have like severe cases of anxiety that like the idea of unmuting themselves and talking is just crippling, which I understand. But also like you'd be talking in class, like if you were in class, like, you know what I mean? So I don't know, but I get it.
Oh, that's so hard.
Yeah.
So hard for the kids, so hard for you. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's definitely challenging, but I think kind of much like Chen, we end up talking about it like quite a bit like together. And we, with everything that's going on in both of our, you know, respective careers, we still say like, what a blessing, right? Because there's just so many people who are without jobs. And I feel like that's happening every day where I hear of someone new, like, yeah, they just shut my business down, or they shut my company down. And it's like, wow. So I'm still counting my blessings in the midst of the chaos.
Yeah.
It's hard. I think because yes, that's so true. And people have had it way worse in COVID and from me, definitely. But it's also like, but it doesn't mean it's easy to go back to teaching like virtually or in person and have a commute. It's still hard.
Absolutely.
Definitely. It's also a lot harder when you've been home for 7 months and then now you have to go back into the world, and even like the emotional aspect of talking to people again. Like I feel so drained. I'm an introvert as well, so naturally I just don't talk much to people. Surprisingly enough, podcasting.
So I started
this is true.
I totally get it.
But now I just feel so much more drained when I have to interact with people at the end of the day. I just want to sit still, have some quiet time because I'm just so tired from having a conversation. Even though it's exciting to even talk to someone I'm not too fond of, you know, you always have that coworker that you don't care for. But when I went back to work, I'm like, how you doing, girl? What's your life?
For the first week. And then you're like,
right. And then I'm like, all right, I'm not.
I remember.
It's so funny you say that because I was telling my husband yesterday, like, it'll be so great to go back to normal, but I am someone that once I get into a routine, that routine is everything to me. And I'm like, I have anxiety about what life is going to be.
Wow.
Like having like, okay, I'm gonna have to get a job again, or what are we gonna do? Like, we're gonna have to drop our kids off at school. So all of a sudden I had like this crippling anxiety of the world's gonna go back to something new and I have to adjust that. I'm like, but that's a good thing. Like, let's adjust our priorities here.
It's like reverse culture shock.
Yes. And I'm curious where you guys are in Canada.
We're from Toronto, but not really. Okay. We're like in the suburbs.
So we're like,
45 minutes away from the city. That's really where we are.
Okay.
Like we call it the GTA, which is like the greater Toronto area. So like we're not too far from Toronto. Like we can get there in no time. If you get there today, we'll meet you. Like
that would be great.
I wish. I'm going to be honest. I was in November. Like, how do we move to Canada? Do we have a backup plan here?
Canada's hard to move into, though. It's tough.
It is. I'll let anybody in.
Yeah, they're not letting everybody in. You have to bring some like unique qualification to get into Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
Yes, it is hard.
I was listening on NPR about people who immigrated there after Trump was elected in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe they had a special in. I don't know.
I'm sure it got harder and harder over the years.
Yes.
They knew people would be like, all right, we got to go.
Yeah.
Yes. What's our exit strategy?
It's getting tougher by every tweet.
After I watched, I don't know if you all watched The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh my God, I've read the book, but I haven't watched it.
Okay.
I've watched the first couple seasons, and then I couldn't watch like the last 2 seasons because it was stressing me out.
It's super stressful. That is when I was like, I need a backup plan. And so
that's how I felt in the beginning. I was like, oh my God, it's happening.
Yes. My mom told us that we can actually get citizenship in Italy because our grandma was born there. And that was right after I started watching. I was like, I'm getting on that. I'm having a strategy.
Oh my gosh. Hilarious.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about, you guys both have, a 2-year-old and almost 2-year-old. Tell us about deciding to grow your families or how those little ones came to be. We don't need all the nitty-gritty details. That was really weird.
That is
it's super weird.
No, it's not weird at all. You know what?
No, it's just funny because we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, especially because like for me, we have very different stories and I think we have very different stories because we also have very different personalities. So yeah, mine was not planned, not in the slightest, no discussion, no. It was just like, hey, like so my husband was working in another province. So we live in Ontario. My husband was working out of province. He was working in Alberta for a long time. And so even after we got married, and then like weeks later, he's like, I got to go to Alberta because he got a job out there. So I was living on my own, and then I moved back with my mom. And then the job situation in Alberta just got really shaky. And this is, of course, pre-COVID. This is like 2018. Yeah, 2018. So it was just, he was just like, there was just like a couple weeks of like no work. And he was like, this is really frustrating because I'm here. I'm alone. My family and everything is there. You're there. And I'm not working. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't you just move home? And he was like, I don't know. And I'm like, I think you should move home. So I had March break, which was like early March. And I just like hopped on a plane, went there, and I'm like, I'm moving you. We're going to move you home. And he was like, what? He's like, we're moving home together. So literally I went there and I packed up all of his stuff and got everything together, sent a whole bunch of boxes home. Like we booked a ticket for him. I left, and then he came 2 days, he arrived like 2 days later. So I want to say he arrived March 15th. And we were like at this point living in my mom's place. And, it was fine. It was spacious enough. There was just, the 3 of us. So it was okay. But I mean, surely we would have wanted our own space. We would have wanted we weren't ready to do anything. And legitimately 3 days after this guy got here, I was excited. I was excited to have him. I was excited to have him home. We had a fun night. 9 months later. 9 months later. I was like, what the hell? Well, I didn't say 9 months later. Like, I mean, legitimately, I'm so in tune with my body. 3 weeks later, I was like, shit, something's not right. Oh my God, can I swear on your podcast?
Of course.
Yes.
Yep. You're good.
I was like, I know, I'm like a sailor. So I was like, what the heck? And I couldn't believe it because I'm like I said, it couldn't have been a worse time. You're unemployed. We're living with my mom, and like we're just, like, it's just like, yes, and that's fine. People live with their family, especially now. But like I had always envisioned myself like having our own place and whatever, and being a little bit more established before we took that leap. No, I was like, I feel weird, and he's like, you're not pregnant. I'm like, I feel weird. I'm taking a pregnancy test, and I did, and I was like, I'm pregnant. So it was just wild. But we weren't ready, but we got ready. And yeah, like it's just we just did what we had to do during that time. We made sacrifices, and we're aggressive in trying to like build a life for ourselves, and thankfully we were able to do it. But yeah, there was I would love to say that there was conversation and planning and detail and charts and highlighters and
she's explaining me.
This is exactly it. This is
that stuff isn't that fun. You're okay.
Yeah, I'm segueing right into her story. So no
it
order.
Wasn't that intense. It was not that intense. All I did was have multiple conversations because my husband and I at first did not want to have children. I was just too scared. I wasn't I love kids. I always used to babysit everyone else's kids. But for some reason, I could never picture myself with my own children. And at the time, my husband, he did not want to have kids either. We dated for a really long time. So it was a conversation that we always revisited. He was an absolute no. And then I think it was after we got engaged, I started thinking of the possibility of like, what do we do now? We're going to be married. I've been with you for like half of my life.
Yeah.
What do we do? Like, what is new here? Like, we're traveling, like I'm bored. Like, I need a new challenge. We need something else. And yes, we can continue doing the things we're doing, but I felt like I was missing something. So I was like, shit, how am I going to present this to him? And I'm a kind of person that's like PowerPoint presentation, bullet points. So I'm like, hey, let's talk about something. And I brought it up. He was like, nah, I don't think so. I was like, that's fine. I'm okay with that. We'll revisit it. I revisited like the conversation every couple months. And we got married. We went to Hawaii a couple months later. And we were hanging out. And I'm like, so how do you feel now? I was like, the sun is shining. We're good. And he's like, you know what? I'm not even going to lie. I've been thinking about it for a long time. And I think it's something we could do. And I'm like, yeah. So you want to start now? And I promise you, as soon as I got home, like maybe a week or two later, I'm like, oh my God, it's happening. And he's like, how? We got pregnant immediately. I'm pretty sure as soon as he said yes, my eggs dropped. Everything was like, hard. He said yes. He win. They were just waiting. My insides were waiting. Because I got pregnant as soon as I got home.
Oh my goodness.
I got home, I was pregnant. And he was so shocked because I feel like he said yes, but he was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like we could take one.
Yeah. It's a possibility. And he did not believe me. And I took like a bunch of tests. And then like one day he was like, are you serious? And I pulled it out of my purse. I was like, it's for real. Because he didn't believe me because it was so soon. Like I knew I was pregnant right away, but it was too early for me to take a test. So I had to like keep taking tests. It was saying negative. And finally it said positive. So yeah, that's my story. It was hilarious.
But you felt like you knew, even though they were negative, you knew.
I'm very in tune with my body. So I know when something's different immediately. It's quite strange. Yeah.
So you didn't have to do a bunch of charts.
No, but I think that's why I knew though, because I tracked my period.
And you did? Yeah.
We did have sex, and I know this day my period was over, so my eggs were ready. I was ovulating, so I must be pregnant.
Oh wow,
this is crazy. But you know what? Having a child made my life extremely better, like life changing. It blew up my life, but in a good way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's both, right? Like I remember when we got home from I actually was, of course, hormonal with my son. Like it was when we got home from the hospital, but we were living in DC at the time, and we were living in an apartment, and it was like on a street that is sometimes busy because there was like a restaurant below it, and we couldn't find parking, and our parking lot was like 3 blocks away from our apartment, and like my husband's trying to drop us off with this new baby, and there's nowhere to park, and he dropped me off with the baby, and we went up, and he came up, and I'm like sobbing. I'm like, what the hell did we do? Why did we think we could do this? Like, it's like, it took some time to like, I mean, I loved him, but, and now it's like just normal, but yeah, it rocks your world in both ways.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
So real.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I remember I got induced. And so I remember it was the day before I was going to be induced, and I called my girlfriend and I was like, is it too late? Like, can I change my mind? Like, I'm going to have a baby tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell to do. She's like, it's okay. This is normal. It's just different because you know what's happening. It was like, I have to walk it off.
No, I feel like it's so funny because I think I had one of those moments after, like once, like, and I think it was like just a late night where like Yara was just not sleeping and I was cluster feeding. But But I also had a moment like that, like 3 weeks before I got married, where I was like, yeah, I'm not sure I want to do this. Like I might like, and I think, I mean, I'm not saying that everyone is the same, obviously, like everyone has their own path, but I feel like if you don't even have a bit of that moment, then I don't feel like you've really like registered the magnitude of what you're doing. Like, I feel like these decisions are so massive. So I think there has to be, even a little bit, at some point, there needs to be some like concern or some apprehension, or there just should be, because it's like, or have you really considered it? Because it's so big. Like when I started to think about, oh my goodness, like forever, like am I really going to commit to this one person? Like how can I say, like at the time I was 27, I'm like, this is crazy. Or 20, I 28. I'm like, how can I now at 28 say that, like, yes, you forever? Like I was just getting so like worked up about it. But yeah, I mean, you kind of just work through it. But I felt the same way. Like I really did. I'm just like, this is a huge responsibility. Like, am I gonna be able to like make sure this baby stays alive?
Yeah, that's all I think about.
Like, wow.
Alive.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They have to stay alive today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, it's a massive responsibility. And I think it's probably good to have those thoughts and those serious words. It probably means that you are more committed to it, or like you're more invested in it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you're not being so naive about, oh, it's going to be fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're not having those feelings, you're definitely going to be in for a shock if you're not thinking about both sides of it. You're definitely taking the naive approach for sure.
Right.
With baby and marriage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
I had my moment like 5 minutes before I walked down the aisle in a closet.
Yeah.
Were you by yourself?
I was like, all right, ladies, take off my dress. Take it off. Please take this off of me.
Who talked you down? Did someone talk you down? Like, you can do this?
You know what? My husband actually talked me down because we already saw each other. We did a first look.
Mm-hmm.
So my friends don't know how to handle me when I'm like spazzing out. So they were like, we don't know what to do. So they're like, get Joe, hurry. So he came in the closet and talked me down because like we just went through so much and it was nice. It was probably like the most memorable moment of my entire wedding day is me like crying in a closet.
That's so wild.
I love that. And that he was the one to calm you down. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. That's when I was like, all right, I can.
Okay, you.
Fine.
Let's go.
Yeah. Zip me back up.
It's kind of hard to like walk down the aisle. I didn't freak out about getting married in that moment right before, like at the ceremony. But I all of a sudden looked at my parents and I was like, I don't want to walk down this aisle in front of everyone. Like, what was I thinking? I should have just gotten married in a small ceremony. And they were like, hey, Megan, you're gonna walk down now. Like, everyone
be clear, she backed up.
Go see what's there.
It's like, what's happening behind me? The bride's leaving.
She's got a coat on. She's out of here.
Yeah, she's the runaway bride.
No, that was me because I was super clumsy. Like, I'm the clumsiest person on, like, I like trip before I wake up. Like, I already the trip. I'm like down the steps. Like, I know it. Like, I'm so insanely clumsy. And my mom was so freaked out about it. So she was like, oh my God. And like the aisle, because I got married outside, was long. It was like such a huge, there's like all of this like cobblestone and then grass.
Oh my God.
So cobblestone and then grass. So it's like a never ending freaking aisle. Oh my gosh. It was such a long aisle. I was so nervous. I was so stressed. And then, like, again, because the running joke between Chanel and I is that we have, like, parallel lives. So, like, I also, like, the day before my wedding, like, I wasn't even really talking to my husband because we were, like, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds so crazy. But we were, like, both, like, I don't know if we want to do this. Can you imagine? I can't even, if you can even imagine it. Like, legitimately, when my mom says on the day, like, 2 days before my wedding, it's okay. We can just cancel it and just we'll just have a big party. Like, don't worry.
Oh no.
And it's literally because of the same, like, we were just both like, we love each other, but we're like, I don't know. I just feel like, you know, we still have like, you know, like issues that we want to work through and there's social challenges. And I'm like, are we just ready for this? And there was so much. Anyway, so again, I wrote my vows the morning of. Like that's how serious, that's how unsure I was of everything. But anyway, now I'm walking down the aisle and it's this long ass aisle. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm so freaked out. But I think it was a blessing to have that length, because as I'm walking down the aisle, I'm like replaying everything, like all of like the conversations. And again, Kishel and I have parallel lives. I also have been with my boyfriend for like the same duration of time that Chanel has, which is like 15 years. I don't even know. My husband, yeah. So we've been together forever. So yeah, I'm just like replaying everything. And yeah, I get to the end and I'm like sobbing and he's crying and I'm just like, okay, like I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I know this is where I'm supposed to be. But yeah, just crazy.
It's nice when you're like that and you can get that calm and you're like, okay, no, I'm good. Like I know, like I'm making the right choice.
Yeah. I got that for that long aisle. Maybe if it was too short, I'd be like, that's not enough time.
It could have changed everything. Yeah.
What shoes did you wear for cobblestone and grass?
Oh my God. Like it was so crazy. And I was like, just don't trip. So there's all of these thoughts, and then plus don't trip. I had like these, like, they're high. They're like Bradley Mishka. They're like the wedding shoes.
Nice. Yeah.
But and that's not even what happened. Where I guess what tripped me, my veil had rhinestones on it. It was really long, and it got caught on one of the cobblestones. I was like, huh.
Oh no!
I was like shaking it out, and then I had to like literally nudge my head forward and move. I was like, this is awful. I knew it.
Did it rip?
It didn't. It just it just like snagged a bit, like on like one of like the raised, I guess one of the corners of the stone. But thankfully, I was able to keep it moving.
Could have really messed up the hair and the veil.
Could you imagine?
No.
Jeez. Wild.
And then how did you two meet? Because you met on maternity, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're brand new friends.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't seem like it, which is why I'm like, oh, we're not each other's weddings.
No, we met on maternity leave through a friend. And a friend of ours, she was like, oh my God, that friend I keep telling you about that is like exactly like you, and you guys have parallel lives, and it's so weird that you haven't met yet.
Yeah.
She had a baby. You have to hang out with her. You have to meet her. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm so bored. I don't mind hanging out with somebody. And I was looking for mom friends. I was like super lonely and I needed to get out of the house. So we met up and went to the movies and brought the kids. And they were like babies, but they had like a mom movie day at the theater where the lights are.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Then we hung out and that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. And at the time I wanted to start the podcast, but I kept doing trials with other people, doing other topics, and I just didn't like it. I wouldn't release it. I was like, this is not what I want to talk about. And then after we went on maybe 2 dates, I was watching. Yeah, it's a date.
Proposed. Not easy. You have to court me.
She was difficult to catch. I'll tell you that much. I told my husband, I'm like, I think I'm going to ask that girl that I just met to do a podcast with me about motherhood. He's like, that random girl you went to the movies with? I was like, yeah, it feels right. And he was like, I guess.
You weirdo.
He's like, you're weird, but fine. If it feels right to you, go for it. And I asked her and she was like, no, I don't know.
No, ma'am.
She was not into it. She's like, no, thank you.
I really love to know you, but no.
Yeah. It was a hard no.
Okay.
But I was persistent, probably a little annoying, but I just felt it. I felt that it felt right to me. And I was like, I know it's you. And because you're saying no, and I still feel this way, like it's definitely you, but she didn't see it yet. I'm kind of a big picture thinker. So I see the end result. I always see the end result. And Leigh's like, I need the steps. I need like step 1 to 10, how we got there. And I'm like, just do 1 episode with me and then decide. Then you can say no and I'll leave you alone forever. And then the rest is history.
And she did. And it's just so awesome. Like, I think that I think it's so important to surround yourself with people who celebrate your gifts. But I think it's so also even more important to surround yourself with people who, see the gifts that you don't see. right? So like I think like I just didn't see it. Like I hate the sound of my voice. Like even now, like just listening to it, I'm like, ugh. Like I just like don't like the sound of my voice. So I was like, yeah, like I don't know. I don't want to listen to that. I don't want people to listen to that. And like I just didn't really want to. And I think, I don't know, you probably have, had similar thoughts where it's like, oh, like everybody has a podcast and I don't want to be like everybody else. I kind of want to do my own thing. And I don't know, I just wasn't feeling like that was the right fit for me.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was funny because, again, Chanel just came at the perfect time. Like my husband was working out of the city again. So now I was home with my daughter and I was so, so stressed. And I was so like, honestly, I think I was also so sad. Like I was just feeling really stressed. Like I think, my husband and I committed to 2 very big life changes at the same time. We had a baby and bought a house during the same year. So like financially, it was hard. Yeah. So it was just hard on us financially. And he was like, okay, like I got it. Like in order to help this family like thrive, because you're on maternity leave, like your salary is reduced, I gotta go. And it was just like, yeah, it was just really hard and really lonely. So I remember one day, like I was just home with Yara and I called my cousin's mom and I was like, hey, like, can you just come watch Yara for just like 2 hours? And then I just messaged Jen. I was like, yeah, like we can try, like, let's try today. And I just felt like I had to share. And I think I loved the fact that the podcast started like that, because it wasn't like, yes, let's do this podcast and let's make all this money. Let's do this podcast and like, let's take over. Like, it was like, let's do this podcast for us. Like, let's sit down and do something so cathartic for the 2 of us, because we are going through something that like, we know is not necessarily unique, but just feels, for whatever reason, so isolating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it does. Yeah. New motherhood. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was awesome. It was good. And I felt so much better after it. So I think that's what I keep trying to go back to whenever I'm like, frustrated or worried or concerned about the future of the podcast. I always like try and remember that day and that feeling.
Yeah.
And like that kind of helps to remind me, like, this is why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. That's not at all where I was expecting it to go. She said no. First of all,
Nope.
Wow. Is that one of your episodes? That first one that you guys tried out together?
Yeah, the first one is the first.
Yeah.
The first one is the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Your introduction one?
Yeah, it's funny.
Ahead.
We didn't even, that's actually really interesting that we didn't even do a dry run and then like then recorded. We just like went with that very first one.
Right. I was gonna say, is that the one that I listened to? It seems so true. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And Jen, what gave you the drive to want to start the podcast in the first place? Was it the same kind of thing?
Yeah, it was partly the topic of speaking about motherhood was something I felt like I needed to do, because again, it was such an isolating experience to go through postpartum anxiety at the time. And I felt like the friends that I had at the time already had their children. Their children are older. So we were all in different stages of our lives. So I didn't feel like I had an outlet of someone to talk to that could relate to me. My friends don't remember. You have a baby and then you forget everything. So I felt like there was no one I could reach out to. There was no one to share my feelings. And also, because I was such an introverted person, like even though I have my close friends, it was still something very hard for me to talk about. And I felt like maybe the podcast is something where I can just release my feelings and not feel scared or ashamed, because like it's intense stuff. And I spoke about it in one of my episodes, is when I felt like I wanted to throw the baby in the garbage one night. And I had to go up to my husband and tell him to take the baby from me. Like, that's an intense thing to just, call up my friend and say, hey girl, want to throw the baby away today, like, oh, let's talk about it. Like, no, it's very taboo, especially in the Caribbean community. We don't really share a lot about mental health.
Yeah.
So I felt like it was hard to explain to someone that it's just a feeling that I have during postpartum. Like, a lot of people would freak out. My parents were freaking out. Of course, I was very transparent with them, but like in the end, they became very supportive. But the podcast was that outlet for us. And I wanted to start a podcast before, and I felt like it wasn't true to anything. Like, that's when I felt like I was going to enter an oversaturated market talking about pop culture or, just jokes, or there was no genuine substance for me that felt relatable even to myself. So when I became a mom, I felt like this was a genuine topic where I felt authentic. And again, it was very cathartic for us to talk about those things because it was true, real life feelings for us at the time. And it ended up reaching a lot more people than we anticipated. Because again, even though it feels like an isolated experience, it's like motherhood is a very natural and common thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I love that you describe yourself as introverted, which I totally believe, but I'm like, oh, that's so funny that you're like, you're the one who wanted to start the podcast.
I know, right?
I love that.
You know what? I think after having a child as well, the person you see now is not the person I was before. And I always explain that to Lei because we just met as well. I was like, I am not a chatty person. I was very closed off. I had so many walls up, even to my close friends. And I felt like when I had a baby, I wanted to challenge myself because I felt like if I have a child and I want to pour into them and tell them to be the best that you can be and do whatever you feel in life, I have to model that behavior. So even if I'm scared, I have to push through or challenge myself. And I know that speaking is like the worst thing I can do in my life. I hate talking. I'm like, so what should I do? I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast and maybe this will help me practice interacting with people and being more confident and comfortable. So this is hard every time. Doing interviews is a difficult task. And yeah, it even drives me crazy when I'm editing because I hear myself stumble and stutter and go in circles. But even though I'm listening to it, I'm like, you did a good job because you pushed through. And even if I have to push through every single time, it's something that still makes me proud of myself. So yeah, that's my story.
Good for you.
Diaries.
Oh, yes, but I love it. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Jess.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, because you went from like, oh, I'm just gonna start by like talking to a random person that I see in the street and saying hi. You took it 10 times farther. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And like you said, to have these real honest conversations, because I feel like there's so much, either it's internalized shame or, it's that we see these conversations not happening. So we perceive it to be something to be shameful of if we are having feelings that are hard and challenging. So to put it out there, even if 3 moms heard it and they're like, I felt that, I related to that. It's so important. And I'm so over this idea of like, oh no, we're going to judge you for that.
Yeah.
Or it's not right. Or there's something wrong with you, because it's freaking hard to be a new mom or a mom at any stage.
Exactly.
And we've got to stop with this whole idea of what's normal.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. The perfection is really crippling. So it was just really reassuring. And like I said, I think that like for Chanel, it was like, I totally agree. I think that we knew that we needed to be more transparent, but we also knew that we needed to represent on behalf of a community that I feel like often is sometimes missing from the discussion around motherhood. Right? We knew that there was a lot of amazing podcasts, like so many even in Canada that we absolutely love. Great ones like yours in America that are so phenomenal as well. But I thought one of the things that we recognized was missing, at least from the conversation in a Canadian context, was like what Black motherhood looked like. And it was just so important for us to fill that gap and provide that voice, and not only just for women that look like us, but women that don't, right? So yeah,
and there is a lot. I mean, there's a lot of truth to that too, right? I mean, yeah.
But I think it's like the opportunity to diversify your feed, right? I think and hear different voices, and I think that's been at least in our opinions, that's been something that has been valuable and important forever. But I think in this year particularly, I feel like there's never been a more important time than to hear from so many perspectives and hear voices from people from so many different communities, because I think that that's really what's gonna propel and create the kind of change that I think that our kids deserve. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
I think having a child too probably does do that. Like, you know, you're like, no, we want our kids to have better. And that's there's no better motivation than your kids.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, just love that. You two ladies are so awesome.
Ditto.
One thing I'm really curious about is what is the maternity leave like in Canada?
You don't want to know. It's going to make you really sad and jealous.
I know, but I
want to know. Yeah.
I'm like so curious. I don't know why I haven't just like really looked it up, but I think hearing from someone or two people who have actually had it, I'm so curious.
Oh, God.
So, okay. So we get 12 months. And that was what it was for a long time. And if you can believe that, women were outraged because they're like, 12 months is not enough time. And what they noticed was that, like, particularly sending kids to school at 12 months, it was really expensive. It was really costly. So they changed it to 18 months. So now you can be off of work for 18 months. In terms of getting your full salary, that's contingent on where you work and who you work for, right? Yeah. So I know like government employees get 12 months of full salary, and then the 18 months would be a reduced salary. It's roughly like, I don't know, I think the max that you can get is like $2,000 a month. Yeah. So like that's what like most people get. For me, I only had 3 months of full salary, and then so I didn't take 18, I took 14 months. So I had 3 months of full salary, and then the rest was I reduced like the $2,000 a month, which is not the greatest depending on what your expenses are, but is, you know, much more than many. Mm-hmm. And it's nice to have 18 months of like, even if you have your savings and you're able to survive, then like it's just great to have that job security, to know that your position is safe, and you know, you can spend the first 18 months of your child's life just together.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And do you benefits too? Your benefits stay?
Oh yeah.
I was going to ask, but they don't need health insurance for their jobs, right?
Oh, no.
Do you not need?
So we do have universal health care, but as far as like, you know, like coverage for medications and stuff like that, that stuff still is based on your employer, right? So even like going to the dentist and those kinds of things, like that stuff is, you're going to have to end up coming out of pocket for that. So yes, like to your point, you would get your full benefits for the 18 months.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm jealous, but like I knew it was a lot different.
But also like, that's just how it should be.
Yes.
Your country's just doing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell's going on down here, but
not good things.
It's outrageous. I don't know. I can't imagine. I remember when I was teaching I taught in like the Middle East for 2 years. So I was teaching in Abu Dhabi, and while I was out there, they had the 3-month maternity leave. And this was like years ago. So like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. And I remember many of my American counterparts being like, what the heck? 3 months? Like they were so excited at the prospect of being home for 3 months because they were used to a 6-week maternity leave. And like they were just like, yay, this is so amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe 3 months. And like the other Canadian teachers are like, are you crazy? Everyone was like rushing to get on birth control. There's like, there's no way I'm getting pregnant here. There's like no way. Like I cannot, like coming from a 12-month maternity leave, 3 months.
Yeah.
Nuts. Like it was so funny. Like we were like, there's literally no way I could survive on 3 months. Like that's like, come on.
That's
like literally a fourth of our maternity leave.
It's so hard. I remember just thinking like, can't I just have until this baby is on solid foods?
Seriously.
Like, can't I just get to that? And it's like, nope, we need you back. It was like both jobs. It was like, okay, so the last day that you were here, you know, and it was like to the exact. It wasn't like come back that Monday. It was like you will be back exactly on this day.
And at that time, it was 3 months or 6 weeks for you?
I did 3 months unpaid for both because the first time it was a really small practice and they told me they didn't have short-term disability when I started there. And then it turned out that was not true, but it was too late by then. And then the second time we adopted. And so short-term disability actually doesn't apply in any way. And so it's just whatever vacation time I had left. And then,
oh my goodness.
Which is like just so common. I mean, that's just like US maternity leave.
So then like, okay, the other question that I have then is, so like the childcare, like, I guess centers, like they just start at 3 months. They just have like
6 weeks, some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine giving your
no baby? No way I could leave even in the state that I'm in, I could not leave my baby at 6 weeks.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I never had to leave my baby at 6 weeks, but 4 months for both of mine. And even that, you're like, this is a helpless child who can't communicate and tell me anything. And it's still on my breast milk. Like I can't, those women, there are women who go back at 2 weeks because they have no paid leave, and
it's just stressing me out.
And there's no support here. I mean, there's just, if someone doesn't have the financial backup, then they have to.
You know what? That's so funny because I'm a part of like a couple Facebook like mommy groups, and there was one group where she was asking for advice onto how to communicate or like draft an email from her or to her boss because it was a Thursday. She was being induced on Friday, and I kid you not, he wanted her to return to work on Monday.
What?
And she was like, it's a brand new job that I just started. I don't have any bank maternity leave. It was like a huge thing, and everyone's like, what do I do? And I forgot. I should have reached out to her because there was like 712 comments. Everyone's like, DM me. Like, people were going crazy. And I was like, this is insane. Like,
that's heartbreaking.
She might not have even had the baby by Monday.
Yeah.
And there's no protection though if it was in the US. You have to have been somewhere 12 months to have like the FMLA protection. So like he could just be like, nope, you're out.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It was frightening.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so back to Canada. Can I have like a sponsor?
I know, right?
Can you just sponsor me?
That's it. You and all of your children and your lovely husband. Come on down. It's crazy.
I don't know. Just me and the kids would be fine.
You're gonna leave your husband behind.
Like, it's messy to come to someone else's house.
Well, I didn't say we were moving in with them. I didn't invite myself to live with you.
I don't know. It sounds like more fun.
I don't know if that's part of the offer.
I'm like, if it is, well, sure. Like, no pressure.
Oh wow. I'm so glad to hear that that's the case there. I thought I didn't realize it was 12 full months or 18 full months.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah. Wow.
That's crazy.
Insane, but correct. Yeah.
And do partners get leave or do they not get any
You can
leave?
split it.
You can split
it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Well, should we transition to our end of podcast questions?
Yes. We got some rapid fire for you guys.
Ooh.
Okay. So what do you both do to take care of yourselves? Like the self-care question.
Right now, nothing.
And wine. Oh, so much wine.
Wine and nails. Yeah, I also love wine. Very therapeutic.
What kind of wine's your favorite?
Yeah, I'm like a white drinker. Like I love Pinots. Like I love Two Oceans. I like South African wines a lot. But like now I'm slowly like transitioning to like, what's the word I'm looking for? South American rosés. Like my cousin's getting me on like all these like yummy Spanish rosés. So I'm like, oh, okay.
I hate rosés.
Really?
It's okay. You guys love it. That's the only way I drink it is when you guys have it.
Really? I don't like
I like a dry white wine. That's
right. Yeah.
Don't like sweetness.
And what's the most surprising part about being a parent for both of you?
The body changes.
For yourself.
My body adjusting and being old.
Oh no, not the old bones. How much you can do on very little sleep. That will always
so true.
Mm-hmm. That is true.
Yeah,
that's so true.
I thought I could do a lot when I was in university. Like I thought like then I was like, I think it's just hilarious. I say to my friends all the time, I'm like, I feel like, you've experienced fatigue before. Like I used to pull all-nighters all the time in university. I'd like go out to parties and then I'd come home and then I'd write my essay and I'd like kill it and run into class and hand it in. Like, and I felt like, wow, I did that like on an hour of sleep or 2 hours of sleep. Like, wow, I killed it. So like, I think when people would say to me like, yeah, you're going to like have to do so much and you're going to be so sleep deprived. I'm like, yeah, but I'm accustomed. I've done like, I've survived sleep deprivation. No. It's a different beat.
I know. It's so different because you're caring for this being while sleep deprived. I mean, it's
right. And you have no choice in the matter. Like you don't get to decide, okay, well, I'm going to party till 2 a.m. No, the baby's telling you we're going to party till 4 and we're going to get up at 6.
Exactly. It's like the ultimate club. It's like
It never ends.
You never wanted to get into.
Raving all day, all night.
Exactly.
Do both of you have a favorite piece of parenting advice or tip?
Oh my God. Don't compare yourself.
Mhm.
You're allowed to love your child and also want to take space. You're allowed to not clean your house so that you can sit down and relax. You're allowed to breastfeed or give formula. You're allowed to, I don't know, just do what you want. And also, it's your child. You know best. Don't let someone force you into making decisions that they want you to make.
100%. I love all of those. I mean, I'm still living. Even when she's saying it, it's like it still resonates even now with like a 2-year-old. But I think my biggest thing is don't lose yourself. Like you have to make time for yourself. You'll be a better mom when you put you first. You'll be like when you make time for you, you can be a better wife, a better friend, a better mother, a better sister, a better employee when you take time for you. And self-care looks different for everybody. Like, you know, it's not the same. It could be just minutes to yourself, but I just feel like really setting aside time to focus on you, to celebrate you, you know, to honor yourself, even if it's just the smallest thing. It could just be like a 5-minute face mask, a 2-minute hand massage, something that you do for yourself. You have to find the time. Because again, it's not about being selfish. It's about, again, self-care. And you take care of you, you'll be in a better position and more capable of taking care of everybody else.
Oh, true.
Awesome answer.
Yes, I know. I'm like, it's so hard to follow when you're a new mom.
Yeah.
But man, so important.
Very.
What's the best part about being a mom for both of you?
I don't.
Yeah, can you think of one? I can, but I can.
And it's not hard.
Yeah,
to find the answer.
Exactly.
I don't know what to choose.
It's hard to think of one.
I love being a mom so much, and it's surprising for me to hear myself say that. I didn't want to have kids,
right?
But just like every day, just looking at my daughter just makes me so happy. I don't think I've experienced loving someone like this so powerfully, like out loud, obnoxiously, knowingly loving someone that she's just like, Mom, enough. She's 2. She's like, stop. Don't touch me.
You're smothering me.
But I love being a mom. It's actually one of the most powerful experiences that I've ever had in my life. And I just feel so grateful for getting the opportunity to become a mom and being able to see my actual full potential after becoming a mom. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Wow.
Yeah, I think for me it's hard to choose, but I think the biggest thing is the unconditional love on both fronts. I mean, I know that I've heard people say it. My mom has said it many times. Is that like, you know, it's like you'll understand when you become a parent, and it's like everything. Like I remember, and many people, women in particular, go through this where after they have children or become a parent, they end up calling their moms and saying, I'm sorry, or I get it, or thank you.
Boy.
And I think, and I did that to my mom. I remember calling her and just thanking her, and I was crying. And I'm just like, I get it. I understand, because it's like, I'm only like, I think I was like 6 days in at that point. And I was like, anything, I would do anything for this thing, like anything for this kid. So like, I get I understand it now. I get, like, you know, the overprotectiveness and like sometimes the borderline invasiveness. And I get, like, you know, I get sitting up and waiting. I understand. I get it all. I understand all of it now. And I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful and so appreciative. So the coolest thing is being able to love that hard and that loud and that unapologetically. But it's also, especially at this age, the reciprocation of that, like, you know, reciprocal, like, just I'm not feeling the best, or I feel like I had a rough day with my students, or like, you know, even, you know, maybe me and my husband aren't seeing eye to eye, but, you know, just my daughter, Mommy, I love you. Like, you know what I mean? Just like little sweet, like, you're just like, you're just so adorable. You're so precious and so innocent and so pure. So yeah, I love the unconditional love that you get on both ends. And I love seeing her grow and being able to them contributing to that, learning and just exploring, I think is really neat. But yeah, I like the person that like she made me. And I don't know how, I can't imagine how I would have blossomed into who I am without her.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love that. Both of you sort of touched on that, like becoming who you are and who you're meant to be because of becoming a parent. That is such a powerful statement, but so true.
Yeah. I always refer to it as like as a dual birth, right? Like,
that's a great way to describe it. Yeah.
Like legitimately big, like birthing her and birthing myself, like simultaneously.
Yeah. Wow. Do you have a funny or cute kid story that you'd like to share?
Oh God. I don't know.
Oh, what don't I have? Oh my God.
I know you probably have a good one. I don't know what Winter's been up to lately. Right now she's into volcanoes.
Oh.
And she wants to So
into them in what way?
So at daycare they did science experiments. So after that she came home and she's like, Mama, I want to watch volcanoes. Volcanoes. So I showed her a video, which was like rookie mistake number 1.
Yeah, done that.
And after that, every day, volcanoes, blue volcanoes, red volcanoes, green volcanoes. And she saw the video she saw was them making it out of paper mache. So now she's like grabbing boxes and like, Mommy, look, we can make volcano. So I was like, great. So now like today I'm making a volcano. So the other night I was like, all right, it's time to go to bed. Usually I read a story, sing a song, say our prayers, go to bed. So I was like, all right, it's time to say your prayers. She's like, Dear God, thank you for a new day. Thank you for volcanoes. Thank you for red volcanoes. Thank you for blue volcanoes. I'm like, all right, wrap it up. She's like, all right. Amen, God, volcanoes. Bye.
Oh, she's obsessed.
That's hilarious.
That too. What?
Wow.
I know, right?
I feel like she's slightly advanced.
I was like, wow, are kids just really smart in Canada?
18 months,
I don't know. She's very chatty, and it's recently about volcanoes only.
That is amazing. Yeah. I love that. She sounds very smart.
That's super cute. I love it. I love praying for volcanoes. I gotta
which most people don't pray for.
I know.
You knew.
More praying, like what her inner thoughts are. I'm like, what do you really want? What do you want? Winter wants volcanoes. What do you want? I don't even know. Like, I feel like there's so many. Yara is just a ball of energy, and she's super animated. Like, both my husband and I are pretty just wild kids, so I'm not like surprised. I mean, I guess I'm just gonna go with the one that I've shared before, is with Yara mimicking my husband. So my husband's like a super, and he won't even mind that I've shared this story because I've shared it before. So he's like crazy gassy. Like, he's just like a gassy person, like just naturally farting right around the clock. Like, that's just what it is. And I get that. Like, most women talk about the fact that they have husbands who fart a lot, but like, I just feel like my husband's like on another level. Like, there's like normal levels of like, you know, just farting, and then there's just like, it's almost like competitive. It's almost like Guinness World Record style. Like, put me in for the number of farts I can do a day. That's where he is. So he's farting all the time. And now my daughter imitates him farting. So he'll fart, and like out of nowhere, she'll just be like, meh, meh. She just like walks around the house making the sound. Like, even whether he's making it or not. Like, no matter where he is in the house. Right? It's just like, that's where it is. And like, it's funny because if she hears anything that even sounds similar to a fart, she's like, Dada? So like the other day I was like getting lotion, and it was like, you know, when you get to the bottom of the lotion, it's like making all those like really like fart sounding like noises. The same thing, even if I'm like, you know, down to the last bit of ketchup and it makes that noise, Dada? Like, like
she knows how to find him.
That's it. So if she's not like imitating him, walking around the house, and now like literally physically like lifting one of her legs to let like a fake fart out, she's like now mistaking every single like weird noise for her father's ass. So
is he lifting his leg
right now?
Sometimes he does. Sometimes he does lift his leg. So if it's a rich one, one that he's been working on for an hour or so, he'll lift his leg. So that's what's happening. Now she's just like literally standing up, barely being able to balance and getting that one foot up. So here we are.
My goodness.
Does he appreciate the comparison?
Yeah.
When he hears the lotion bottle, does he appreciate that she's like, Dada?
Yeah. I was the first time I was impressed. I was disturbed and impressed. I'm like, great that you're able to make that connection.
Very smart again. Yeah.
But
It is.
disturbing nonetheless.
Oh,
These
those
kids,
are good
man.
ones. Those kids are something else. Yeah.
Very much
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. I have very much enjoyed it.
That's way to start our day.
Yes.
We're
Tell
glad.
everyone where they can find you and your podcast.
Awesome. You can find us on all streaming platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts. And you can find us on Instagram as well at WTN Podcast. Or you could check us out on our website at whiletheynap.ca, where you can connect with us.
And you can order our merch, friends, even though you're in America or wherever you are. We will ship to you. We've got lots and lots of fancy merch, so please check it out.
Yeah, your shirts are so cute.
So cute.
Listen, celebrate the bomb moms.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, ladies, so much. You are both awesome and so fun to chat with you.
Thank you. It was so great talking to you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed our conversation as much as we did. If you enjoyed the episode, we would love it if you would leave a rating and review and share it with a friend. Remember, you can find us at momandpodcast.com, at Mom and Podcast on Instagram, and our Mom and Podcast Facebook group. Thanks again for listening. Have a great week.